Okay, hey everyone, thank you so much for coming. I'm about to share my screen. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you guys to be able to duplicate this file to your workspace, and I'll go through the duplication process right now live, but check the chat just to access this file so you can duplicate and follow along with the exercises. But yeah, welcome to Figma Fridays graphic design. This is workshop number 2. The goal of this workshop is to show you guys how to apply communication design. Oh, so how do you duplicate a Figma file? I'll just show you quickly. You click this caret, and then you click duplicate, and it should make a new version. Oh, geez, here too. Okay, it should make a new version. Okay, I will send it one more time in the chat. Oh, a couple people are coming in, so I'm gonna have to redo the spiel if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. You can do it again.
Okay. Hey to everyone who just entered. Welcome to Figma Fridays week 2. I'm about to send the Figma file in the chat and show you guys how to duplicate it into your workspace just one more time. So just go here and then you click. So you click the link. It should open. Then it goes to the caret. Like go to the caret with your cursor and then you click duplicate. It should make a new duplicative file. It probably duplicated. Oh, and then you have to click open at the bottom. I probably duplicated this multiple times. Oh, one more. I'm gonna have to do this one more time, guys. I'm so sorry. Someone new just came in. Let me just delete all the files I've duplicated. I think that should be done before I continue. Okay. Okay, so just to do this one more time. Hey everyone, welcome to Figma Fridays. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to drop the file into the chat just so you guys can follow along and do the exercises. In order to duplicate the file, you click the link and then you click the caret and then you click duplicate under the caret. A little pop-up should say open at the bottom, and then we can all start working in our own Figma workspaces. Okay, let's get started. So the goal of this graphic design workshop is really to show you guys how to apply communication design, which is essentially what graphic design is, because good design is just thinking made visual. It's just good thinking made visual. So the goal is I want to show you guys these little molecules that can have a really big impact on what your design looks like. So let's start with typology. I love fonts. I am obsessed with fonts, and there's so many types of fonts that you can use in your designs that can just elevate them. So let's just start with the definition of typography, which is it's the style or appearance of text, and it's the art of working with it. And the key advice is less styles is more, and you want to find good font styles that have a lot of contrast in size, weight, and like bolding, italicized, underlining style. So for example, AppDev uses SF Pro, which is probably like, it has so many styles as a font. Like if you look here, like there's ultralight, thin, light, regular, semi-bold, and like so many types of style, which just adds a lot of breadth to the font and can create like a lot of typography palettes. So a key thing to note is each font has their own language. So the best way to show that is like fonts can evoke a feeling of casual, neutral, exotic, graphic. So you need to know like which types of fonts to use in which situations. Fonts can really be broken down into 3 categories, which is serif, the fancy book fonts you saw in a lot of books growing up or magazines. Sans serif, meaning it's without the little curly things that you see in the serif fonts. And this is usually used on like websites and tablets because they're really easy to read digitally. And then script, which are the really fancy decorative fonts. If you grew up using papyrus and black letter on like your little fake websites, these are like the decorative fonts. They're often used in heavy designs. Sorry. They're often used in like a lot of graphic heavy designs. There's also a lot of things you can do with fonts just to like add breadth to them. So like I said, a lot of some fonts don't have as many styles as FS Pro, like graphic only has like a couple ranges of boldness and italicized. So you can also change the style of the font with like kerning, which is changing the spacing in between text. So I'll show you how to do kerning in Figma right now. So I'm just gonna do type T to make a text box and then H. Okay, sorry. So kerning like here would be like changing the space. So I would change this to like 10. and this automatically adds more space around the H. You might think like, why would I want to increase the space around characters? Well, let's just say I'm doing something like 2016 on a flyer, and I like want to maybe add something below like save annual report. I could like maybe shrink this for a bit. Ooh, this is like really big. I'm probably gonna shrink this to 1,000. Okay, I'm gonna make that 800. So you get better at eyeing it, but like let's just say I make this 700 or 600. Okay, so this is kind of small, but it doesn't like line up. So I could increase the spacing in between the characters to like 10 or 5, and then it will be 7, 8, 9. Like it really just like sometimes it's like figuring it out. And like now they're like all lined up. And that's like some of the benefits of using like kerning. Leading is the spaces between lines of text. So like if you've ever seen graphics that like have like all these texts like around it, like you might think like, oh, this looks really cluttered, when it's probably just poor leading. So all they have to do is like really like increase the space around their graphics. I'm prone to like tend to squish graphics together. And you'll see in like some of the typography exercises we do. And then tracking is just between the words. So like it's like the spaces between words more of than the spaces between characters. So like if you want like words to be more spaced out. And then hierarchy is probably the most important, which is why I saved it for last. It's how you guide the reader's eye in reading things in a certain order. So like in a lot of books, you usually have something like chapter 1, which is like bolded, and then followed below by like a text, which is not bolded. And like you automatically know like, oh, this is the title, like this is the header, like this is what the summary of the information is, while text is going to be like the description. So let's do a couple exercises together just to practice typography. So for example, does anyone understand why this slide kind of feels off compared to like the whole graphic?
I feel like that font is used a lot for like, I don't know, like I get like nail salon vibes or like clothing brand vibes, not very like scientific. I feel like sans serif is like very scientific, but this is very scripty, so I'm confused.
Yeah,
Yes.
also,
Wait, oh, Tony, go.
oh yeah. It seems like the title's really squished together. Maybe if you could give it some room, maybe like how you were talking about, maybe that would be more legible.
Yes. So you guys actually hit the nail on both. This title, first, the font does not fix the context at all. Like Connie said, it's a very like script decorative font, and this is supposed to be a very scientific, professional presentation. And then, like you said, the letters are very also squished. So like it's like emerging technologies almost blends together, and it doesn't have that emphasis that it should. So an easy way to change this is just by actually.
Tisha, you're muted.
Oh, wait, did you guys hear what I said? Did you hear that I said that Tony was right and Connie?
It's like when you're like, oh, this is how you'd fix it, and then that's when you muted.
Oh, so how would you fix it would be you would control C. I'm just gonna control C this and another thing, and then I'm just going to, how would we change this font? So does anyone have font ideas that would be professional looking? It's okay if you don't like have one off the top of your head. I don't expect any of you guys to like memorize types.
SF Pro.
Okay, we'll do SF Pros, which is AppDevs. Yeah, that actually is pretty professional looking, and it automatically fixes the leading problem the other font had because it was less squished together. So let's try SF Pro actually. But we're probably going to want to play around with kerning and stuff like that, maybe to add a more modern touch. So like maybe we can make this, -5 to squish them together. And then I'm probably going to take this out. Ooh. 150. Or like, I don't think this is, what do you think is the keyword, emerging or technologies? That's like an important thing. Which word should we add emphasis to?
feel like emerging because it's like the future of bioscience, but also technologies is quite important since that's like what it's about. Like if you just say emerging without technologies, there's no context.
Anyone else? Okay, I actually basically agree with what Amy says. So I'm just gonna check the key. Okay, so in the last one I used DIN condensed because basically emerging is at the forefront, but like Amy said, we don't have the like it doesn't work without context. So I'm actually just going to change the font from SF Pro to DIN condensed, which will basically add focus on both of them equally. And I'm going to shrink the leading just a bit. I'm gonna half it. Oh, that was a little bit too much. So we're gonna make it 150. Okay, we probably want this to be slightly bigger. We can make it 200 and then we can make this about 250 to make it a little bigger. And now it just has such a contrasting difference to the one on the left. Just so this simple change of font. And I will do this one as well. So typography requires a lot of exploration and actually we'll keep that at SF Pro. Typography requires a lot of exploration and oftentimes you'll be experimenting to see what works better. The main reason I decided to change this from DIN condensed, which matches the key, is because it was like when you had both of them as DIN condensed, it was almost like they were both competing for attention. So having this be like a more subheading font just worked better. Okay. So does anyone know what's wrong with this business card?
It seems like everything's pretty much equal in terms of hierarchy. Maybe making your name or maybe like what you do as a profession, maybe emphasize that more, maybe make it larger than the rest, or maybe make it bold or something where it gives more emphasis on who you are and what you do. And then I don't know if we talked about like color, but maybe some way to indicate like your website or something that's different color, because everything just seems like it's the same color and the same kind of hierarchy.
Yes, this lacks hierarchy. Like you can't tell what's important on this card. Like, is it the name? Is it their number? Like what's important? So on a business card, the most important thing should be the name. So I'm gonna take Tony's advice and I'm just going to make it bigger, 52, and I'm gonna bold it. Then like, I liked how you brought up the use of color. So I think we can add an accent color just to make her profession stand out a bit. So we're gonna make this web designer. And I don't feel like the contact info should be the same weight as her title. So we're also gonna drop down the contact info just to a smaller scale. And boom. Such a difference. And you can tell it's important. Like, you know, it's important, her name, what she does. And then if you're interested in said services, you'll use them. It's great. Okay, last one. This one's actually the most fun. How could we make this intro slide noticeable?
I guess like add more color and then also like bold or make bigger the more important words, because it's kind of like they're all the same font size, font weight, and they're just like thrown onto like a yellow background. Like it's like you kind of don't know where to start reading.
Agreed. Again, we don't know what's important, but this one I'm just gonna have a little bit more fun with. This is just like how you can play with fonts without having to use color a little bit. So I'm gonna use graphic. That's one of my favorite fonts. I'm going to bold it. I'm going to make it about 200. Okay, it needs to be about 400. Yeah, okay, 400 is looking pretty good. I'm going to shrink the leading down to 200. Okay, that was a little bit too much. We're gonna do 300. Okay, this is looking pretty good to me. I like this. Get noticed. I think this is pretty noticeable. Okay, let's worry about this part. The small business part. Oh, wait, my bad. I think I copied and pasted that as SFG when I meant to copy that as a text. Yeah, okay. So how can I fix this? Should I put it under here? Should I put it in this corner? Why don't we experiment with both? I think a key part of graphic design a lot of people don't talk about is explorations are just as important as it is in like other types of design. So I'm gonna do both explorations right now in different kerning styles. I mean, different alignment styles, not kerning, alignment. There's a lot of like jargon that comes with typography that really isn't important in my opinion, but we just use them. Get noticed, okay. And then I'm just gonna do small, medium, bolded. Yeah, I think this looks pretty cool. This one feels more balanced because everything's more centered. So I'm gonna stick with this design and I'll just hide this frame. Okay, so that was typography. I just want to remind you guys one more time that less is more. I put a couple like demo font pairings on the slide to show you like how you compare serif with sans serif fonts, how like this is most of the same fonts except I changed the style and like the caps, pairing like tall and short fonts. So like I left some red grids undone. That you can fill in on your own, but we're going to move on to my favorite part, color. Color is so amazing. Every color sends a message. Let me repeat this. Every color sends a message. And we'll actually get started by, can you guys tell me what colors each of these things are? Like what colors at the top? Does anyone know by memory?
Red, yellow, and green.
Bingo. A colorblind person can instantly know what light is on without seeing color, just because of they used both like the arrangement, but also the arrangement, and it's like consistent. So every color sends a message, and like we have like subliminal messages with this one right now. Red we know is stop, yellow we know is slow down, green we know is go. So this just shows you like color is really helpful, but you shouldn't depend on it. That's what I was trying to show with this graphic. Okay, so what are the main colors? So there are primary and secondary colors. So how do you know it's primary? How do you know it's secondary? Let's get started with this frame. Oh, these are locked. My apologies. I was wondering why I couldn't edit them. Okay, so the main colors, red, blue, and yellow. Oh, I did this wrong. So the main colors, red, yellow, and blue, are the primary colors. And these are primary because they make the secondary colors. So if you mix red with yellow, you get orange. If you mix blue with yellow, you get green. And if you mix blue with red, you get purple. Sorry, this is like coming out as a mess, but I think you get the picture of like mixing colors. And this creates the color wheel. And the color wheel is basically the foundation of all things color theory. And the color wheel is why we have so many colors with these couple words. So the important words are hue, which is like AKA another word for color. So like, for example, this entire thing is all red. Like every color here is red, even though like they're different saturations and hues. And then this is where saturation comes in. So like how bright your color is, like if it's a really bright red that's like in your face, or like a subtle pastel red, is saturation. And then hue value would be like how light or dark it is. Is it closer to white? Is it closer to black? Like, is it in between? And this with the color wheel basically gives us all the colors we see in everyday life today. So why is this important? Look at this. Can you guys stare at this? Like, what's wrong with this? Like, can someone tell me what they're feeling as they stare at this? My eyes are hurting. Any thoughts? Are you guys telling me you guys are all fine with staring at this?
I'll unmute. I think it has really bad contrast. It being red, I'm gonna assume that's like a royal kind of royal blue or a blue. Yeah, it's not very complimentary. It's sharp, and it hurts.
I know it is so painful. So let's just turn it off and see. Wow, this is so much better. Isn't this so much better to look at? Blue and red can pair together. You just have to make sure it's the right contrast. And the main problem with this one is the contrast is so bad, it actually almost vibrates on your screen if you stare long enough at it. So this is good. This is good pairing. This is stuff you have to consider. Okay, what about this one? What's the issue?
There's like too much color and there's not really a theme.
Yeah, color is great. Color is amazing. I love color. But you have to balance it with neutrals. When you don't balance it with neutrals, color doesn't have emphasis and color loses meaning. So we're now going to go over a couple color exercises, but I just want to point out this resource that I added to the worksheet, which is these types of color combinations. These are really great when you're designing your own color palettes in the future, which is what we're about to do right now. I'm so excited. This is probably one of my favorite activities that I designed because it has nothing to do with making an actual graphic, but like picking out clothes. So a lot of you guys practice color theory on the daily and you don't even know it. And a lot of this can be seen in like the outfit you're wearing. So does anyone want to tell me the colors they're wearing today, just for fun? Don't feel shy. Just tell me what colors you're wearing.
I have on a gray shirt with green shorts. Tisha, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Okay, gray shirts, gray shirt, green shorts. Is that what you said, Kamisa?
Yep.
Wait, okay. Sweet. Wait, sorry. This is like really big and it's because I have a lot of like bigger text here to make it like easy to navigate the file. Green shorts. Okay, so let's play around with that color combination that Kamisa gave us. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is actually click the outfit color palette, and we're only going to be playing on here. Like you can't change anything else. The palette is designed specifically so that when you change one color, it changes all the colors in the file. So let's play around with it. So Kamisa said she's wearing green today. So let's start with a green base for our colors. I mean, she's wearing a gray shirt, so we can start with a gray base for our colors. So I'll start with like a gray shirt. Okay, that works. And we'll keep it monochromatic. So I'm going to add probably like this kind of dark color on it. Oh, this is very blue. Okay. This feels pretty monochromatic. Okay, this feels pretty gray. So we're gonna pretend this is Kamisa's shirt right now. It probably isn't, but it works. Let's move on to changing the shorts. So what green do you guys think will pair well with this gray? Like what kind of green? Does anyone like have an idea? Like should it be a bright green, a cooler green? What are you thinking?
Sorry, pair with what again?
What green should pair with this gray?
The one that your mouse is on?
Yes.
Oh. Something kind of sage.
A sage green? Okay. Yeah, we can try that. Wait, does Figma allow me to enter sage? Let's see what Figma gives me. Sage. Okay, no, that did not.
Oop, 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 oop. Wait, is that which gray? Wait, which gray are you talking about? Is it the shorts or
No, this one.
that one? Okay. And then when you mean pair, do you mean like the pants, the like collar, or
The pants. Yeah, what color?
oh.
Like what green?
Mm,
I guess we can kind of play around with it. Like, should it be like which green do you think works the best? Like a bright green, a pastel green, like
It's funny because I wouldn't even want it to be green. I would love it if it was like, a black, you know what I'm talking about? White, maybe a slight like maroon. Oh, that actually looks kind of cute. But then the brown would also be gray too to kind of match or something,
okay. So making the brown like a lighter gray.
Yeah, just something. I think it should be like monochromatic, I guess, because there are two different grays on that shirt, so it makes it harder to kind of like pair something off of that. Does that kind of like make sense? Or is that like completely like breaking what you were asking exactly?
Actually, no, that makes sense. Like because we have a gray on the shirt, actually does make it harder.
Yeah, it's like two different grays.
Yeah, I think so. I'm actually gonna try to go for the green. So I think like a green that might work, just like paying just attention to the palette itself would
Mhm.
be like maybe a deep green.
Yeah, that looks better. Yeah.
And then to complement this one, I would change this maybe to like almost like the sage green you were mentioning earlier.
Mhm.
So
So giving them each like secondary colors to work with as well.
yes.
If anything, maybe you could pair that
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, that looks
Yeah. And then what color should we make the socks just for fun? Like how can we extend this palette just by a bit?
I think it's funny that actually the red, like in color theory, this is actually supposed to work.
Yeah, it's a striking complimentary, right?
It's
Right
supposed
here.
to-
It's called a complimentary, like it's right here.
So and that's like I hate pairing those colors. I never pair them in anything. No matter how many
It's too
times. Like
Christmas to me. It's way too
right.
Christmas.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This was pretty fun. We got to play around with that outfit palette. I would keep playing around with this. We can also, is anyone wearing a dress? Does anyone want to give me like a dress palette to play around with for a bit before we move on to the rest of the demo? Are you telling me that no one's like a fashionista in here? Like no one knows anything about like, oh, what color they would make the dress and stuff like that? Come on, guys. You pick up clothes daily. You're not telling me you guys go around naked.
I'm wearing all black right now, so I don't know.
Ooh, okay, let's do a little black dress. Let's do a little black dress. Why not? Nothing's against us doing a little black dress. I'm not against that. Okay, let's go. I am all black person as well. Like, I mean, like wearing all black. So let's go. Okay, so we'll start by making this. Oh, this should be like maybe a lighter color to make like contrast for the black dress, and then we'll make this like the deep black dress. Oh my god, do you guys see how this changed everything? Like the dress like went from being like this really soft lilac to the striking black dress. Like I'm gonna bring up the previous lilac just so you guys can see. But like wow. And it's the same graphic too. That's kind of crazy. Way different vibes. Way different vibes. Like one is giving me like a Barbie doll dress, and the other one's giving me kind of like a Victoria's Secret like little icon. I think that's pretty fun. Cool. So the last part of the exercises is building palettes from here. So I want you guys to look at each of these given cards or paintings and then build the color palette right now. I'll do one just as an example. So this color palette is a blue mixed with a yellow and an orange and a red. And I think it has a couple secondary colors in there. So like a secondary color could be the green that is made by the yellow and blue, and this bright red that is made by the orange and red. And you see this gives a very bright, modern vibe. It's very fun. And it's pretty reminiscent of like Google and Slack for me, which is very professional, but also has this casual, like very approachable color touch. Does anyone want to do the professional one, the monochromatic one? Don't be shy. Come on, guys.
So do you mean just like picking colors for?
Well, I was gonna say you could share your screen and do it yourself. Like show us how you do it.
Oh. Okay.
Jay said no. I'm kind of dead. Jay's like no.
Um. Give me a second. I was just watching you, so I wasn't really following along.
Okay, I can do it one more time and then you can do it for the painting. How about that? Yeah, I like that idea. Amy, I'm putting you on the spot. It's fine. So let's see. I'm gonna try to break down all the colors that are here again. So I noticed that this color is the same as this big bar, and I think they are all pairing together. So it's like fading into this little ombre. And then I think the card for the blank business is right here, and then there's like one accent color right here as well. Oh, okay. So this is a pretty desaturated color palette, which shows that it's pretty monochromatic. That is also monochromatic. And an important thing to know is that this is usually used for professional, cleaner, more minimalist businesses. Okay, does anyone want to do the painting? I promise it's not that bad. Like, it's pretty fun. Chelsea just came, so I will drop the Figma file that she can duplicate into her workspace right now.
Hello.
I can do it.
Yay, okay. Okay, you can share screen now, so you should be able to do it.
All right. I didn't have the Figma file. I just got it as soon as you just dropped it now because I didn't realize, like, I thought we were just doing a watch along. So let me just get it real quick and then share my screen now. Boop, boop, boop.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, but just to like give Chelsea the rundown, we're currently in the color part and you just have to duplicate it into your workspace. Okay, wait, Namdi, do you think we could just come back to you so I can move on?
Yeah, you
to
can come back. You can just come back to me. I don't want to take up time. Go ahead.
Sweet. That's cool. Okay, so we'll come back to doing the painting palette with Namdi later. But let's talk about layout and composition. So this is where we take a couple of the molecules we've learned about and we try to put them on like paper or a frame. And the important thing is all your individual components can be amazing. They could be like chef's kiss, but they fall apart without a well-composed layout. And the reason is because the layout and composition basically provides the structure and how people will navigate and interact with your content. So examples of structure is like margins and spacing, and then content would usually be the stuff that goes in between.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. We'll let Namdi share now and do the live color.
Don't mind me and my 200 different slides. All right. Oops. So I always try to start off with like the most prominent colors. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. And... Oh, is this?
I think you need to duplicate it. I think you need to duplicate it first.
Yeah. Oops.
It's gonna be under like, no, like you have the file, so you have to go under the caret and click duplicate. Like under the caret by the name.
What?
Yeah, there's Figma Fridays graphic design workshop view only. They're the little caret there. The name. It's like in the center of the screen.
Oh, okay. I have stuff in front of it. Hold on. Bam. Oh, okay. There we go. Got it. The Zoom stuff was in the way.
Okay, so let's do the quick color. Okay, yeah. So now you can build it. Oh wait, that's the key, dude. You're supposed to be in blank. You saw the answer.
Oh, it's fine. Say different. I mean, I feel like the experience of doing it is still like something. I am doing my best.
That's fair. Okay, so
learn.
Why don't you go through your process?
All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead, click here, click there, and then I just try to like start from like the colors that seem most prominent to me that I like the most. So on this one, I see that for the blue, this seems to be like more of the mid-tone right here. Even though these are lighter, I feel like I'd kind of like, as a person, I'd try to break it down more and make like, can I do that? Yes, great. So Illustrator hasn't completely spoiled me. where I kind of just go in, I'd be like, okay, so they're like lighter bits. I don't know if that's like okay, but like I do this too, and I look for like even like the darker one, which is that one right here about. Bam. And then do the greens. I'm not gonna do them for all of them, just to make sure like you just have time for other stuff. And then get the really cute yellows. This works. Ooh, that does not work. It's fine. And then I would do something like around here. But for a lot of these, I feel like there's like so much variation that a lot of the time what I do, if I see like too much of that and I'm not like comfortable with what I have, I'd make additional blocks to get like what's on the, if that makes sense, like the darker and the lighter shades. And I'd start picking from all of those and be like, okay, the lighter version of this color works better with this. And then the darker version of this one, or the more saturated version, works better like this. Does that kind of make sense?
No, that makes sense. That's how I did it, actually. Exactly how I did it.
Okay, bet. I didn't see.
No, like I didn't do the painting with you guys. I felt like that would be like a more like, because like I feel with paintings there's so many there's so
Like so many colors.
there's so many like color palettes that you could derive from one painting. Oh, Namdi, if you could also stop sharing so the recording shows my part now. But there's so many color palettes you could derive from one painting. So like I feel like there's no like correct color palette for that exact answer. I just gave one of the keys so like people could like have one to compare to.
Okay. I like the one you had a lot better. That one looked really good. The one that I saw in the cages now.
But that's because I did the method you mentioned where like I played around with the hues and saturations until I saw the colors that matched well each other. So it took some time.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the parts of layout and composition? Just to go back, sorry for hopping back and forth, but I wanted to make sure you guys saw another perspective. Proximity, white space, contrast, alignment, and repetition. And we're gonna go through each of these with like an exercise. So proximity is basically how you use space to show relationship between items. So we're going back to the little business card we had in the beginning. But instead, like, how would I show, like, how would you guys group the content in this scenario? Anyone feel free to jump in. Okay, I guess I'll do it. Like before, I'll keep the text on one side. But I'll probably put like all the graphics together. So I'm just gonna group this like here, and then I'm just gonna move it here. And yeah, it's a pretty cute business card in my opinion for a web designer. Okay, let's also talk about, wait.
Why does it work? Why does it work like that? And do you have any other like compositions that would kind of work? Like maybe if the icons were all the way across, or like if the text was like center aligned instead of left aligned and stuff like that, just to see like different ways like you think the proximity would work and why it works.
Sure. So this is just another iteration. We'll talk more about that when we get to balance. But what I did like for proximity was I just grouped all the similar things together. There's no reason they could have been grouped horizontally in my opinion, which would have looked more like this, I guess. So let's see, we can have this centered down here. I'll delete one of her contact points so that way it's not too crowded at the bottom. And then we could have grouped it like this way.
It's so 90s.
Yes, it is. Another cool thing is like Figma allows you to do like alignments. If I want to center align these, I just click this little button in the upper right corner. And I'll just, yeah, I'll leave it like this. You can fix it up later. Now regarding white and negative space, this is important because graphics can end up feeling cluttered if they're not spaced out properly. Oh, I might have switched it. Did I? No, okay, this one's just incorrect. Okay, so originally like the graphic looked like the graphic I submitted for Figma Fridays, it looked like this, where everything was like really bunched up, like layered on top of each other. And that's just my preferred style. But like one of the things someone mentioned is like it feels really tight and like the information isn't breathing. So the key thing I did to fix this was just add space in between the graphics, and like I spaced it around so it's more centered horizontally, and each word has like each line of info has its own like space around it. So an important thing to notice is like make sure your text isn't too bunched up. Like this also goes back to leading. If it's like 90, like it's going to feel harsh and hard to read compared to if it's like 143. So keep in mind your negative and white space around things. A lot of you already have experience with alignment because if you work with Microsoft Word, you tend to type in left align. But I just want to show you like sometimes you want center align for certain events. So for example, this is like a save the date invitation. So like you would have it center aligned here. So I'm just going to keep everything like center aligned, and compared to where it was like left align, it looked like a list, but then now it looks like a whole little graphic for save the date. Oh, yeah, Shay, you're right. You could put the icons at the top. Sorry, I was just like doing one example. Last but not least is contrast. So it's just creating differentiation between the elements with color, size, weight, type, and it's closely related to hierarchy. So I'll show you how to make like a caution sign with just using a little bit of contrast. So for example, I'm going to add these blocks into here. And I'm going to like add this caution sign up here. And this adds emphasis. So like, for example, if all of this was the same color, it wouldn't feel like any different, but like this even being filled white, it just adds a little emphasis more on the little caution sign. But to make sure it has more emphasis, I'm gonna actually make the rest of the blocks white, and then this will be the only like yellow warning sign. Then I'm going to add the entire neon, and last but not least, I'll add like the little text of radiation. And you have kind of a basic caution sign, but there's like focus on the caution because we added like a little bit of contrast by changing the color in the box. And last but not least, this isn't like a business card, but it's just to show you how representation helps people read information more easily. So I'm going to organize these things in like a very similar repetition way to just show you like content can't just be like scattered throughout. Like you can't just have things like here, here. It feels like disorganized and messy. So you're probably going to want it to be like this, where they're all like repeated in certain blocks, and then you could just like duplicate under here. So the nice thing about Figma actually is that it'll notice like if you have like a specific way of spacing, and it'll automatically space it for the last one. Okay, so this is just a brief détente into images for graphic design, which is don't use generic stock photos. You want to use those photos can sometimes have context in your graphic, and images are supposed to be compelling visuals that draw in your audience. So try to use images that are like that match your tone, but also realistic and tell a story. A good way to fix images you might like but doesn't really fit your story is cropping to control the focus. So like as you see, like her partner's in this one, and now he's not because they cropped him out. A lot of you guys probably do this on Instagram, but when you put a filter on an image, you automatically change the mood. So like black and white will just like age an image, which is something that we have like tied to how we see black and white images in history books. Bigger is better. You could always shrink a bigger images, but like when you try to resize like a small image, it loses quality really quickly. So bigger is better. And then, like I said, like you can take any image, and with cropping and the right filters, it'll fit your context. And quality matters, so try to make sure that it's sharp, clear, distinct, and memorable. So this is just a quick question. Do you guys know what brands are in these images? Like which brand used these images at the top and which brand used the images at the bottom? Can anyone try to guess?
Is it Uber?
Yeah, so Uber's the top. What about the bottom?
because Uber is like my favorite brand. And like, no idea. The one at the bottom, I feel like that'd be Google. Is it Google?
No.
Do you get a hint? Wait, don't say it. Somebody said McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah. How you get McDonald's?
Wait. Do we get a hint before you say it? Because is it like a driving app or company?
Well, why don't we try to tell from the images? Like, what is anyone else thinking?
Can you zoom in? Is it like Zipcar? It's white. So let's see. Flowers. Friendly, personal, Apple. Apple sounds like a good idea.
No, it's not Apple. They're all in cars. Come on, dude.
I mean, I don't. I mean, let me think. Because that looks like it could be like Google Maps.
Lyft.
Oh,
They got it. It's Lyft. They got it in the chat. It's Lyft. And I purposely chose both of these companies.
Right.
Because same purpose. You use Uber and Lyft for the same thing. You need a ride, but they use different colors and images to symbolize it. Some of them are the same, but most of them are pretty different. Like Uber has a definitely more modern, less human, personal feel than Lyft. And it even shows in their logos.
That's so interesting. Can I ask a question to like you and everybody else as well?
Go ahead.
Do you guys personally like Uber or Lyft's branding more? Because I don't know if I'm biased, but I always felt like Lyft's branding was a little cheap, a little, it's not as like, there. I don't know if that's just me though.
I think it's more of like, do you prefer clean, modern, like professional, or do you prefer loud, bright, bold brands? I think that's the big difference between Lyft and Uber.
So then you have me there, because if you look at any of the art I do, it's always very modern, sleek stuff. Yeah, Uber feels corporate. Yeah, I agree with that.
Uber does feel corporate, and that's intentional because they are trying to even like diversify the space they're in. So okay, so let's talk about the fundamentals. And the fundamentals we kind of cover in the first Figma Friday, the power of Figma and recreating shapes. But I just want to go over the basis of every graphic design you see, which is shape, form, balance, texture, and line, which basically uses all the previous components we talked about later. So just elevating and building on more of what we talked about earlier. So let's talk about lines. Every type of line gives a different feel. And this is through weight, color, texture, and style. So this parking sign, it's pretty hard to like, it's not hard to read because the typography is pretty spaced evenly and everything, but I'm gonna show you how lines can just add a little bit of emphasis and flair, just make it like a little bit more easier and actually more eye-catching. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm gonna add a rectangle, but I'm going to take out the fill and make it a stroke. I'm gonna thicken up that stroke a little bit. We're gonna make it 10. Okay, what are the curves on the outer? Oh, it's 50, so I'm gonna make this 50 as well. Oh wait, not the stroke. That's the stroke, guys. This is the curve. There you go. So now it's 50. I'm going to center it. Centered, perfect. And I'm also going to add one more line, but it's going to be much thicker because like you should not park here if you're not an employee. And then we're just going to make it so that it's really obvious that this is for employees only by adding a red underline. The lines elevated the design to a new level, and it also filled in a lot of empty white space. So this is just a little example. Let's kind of move on. I know we're kind of pressed for time, so I'm not going to go through all the examples I was going to plan to do because I do want to go over image and branding. I felt like that was a pretty fun activity. But if you look at the past Figma Fridays, we show you how to recreate some of these shapes with geometric and organic shapes. So the key thing to know is that every geometric shape in Figma can be transformed into an organic shape just by manipulating the anchors. So I'll show that like right now. For example, I can go from a circle to a blob just by pinching the anchor and playing around with it for a bit. So that's what I'll leave it at. I will recreate these shapes at the end just so I can leave time for the other activity. Does anyone want to guess how many shapes I made in this? How many shapes I used in this graphic? Does anyone want to guess? No, it's not 3. How many shapes? Like not like how many like copies of the shape, but like how many types of a shape? 5. How are you guys getting it higher? Dang it. Okay, think about it. Like there's like 1. It's 1. Yeah, I only used a circle. Every single thing in here could be made with a circle.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like, it's crazy to think about. Like you could literally make this whole thing with a circle. I'll show that at the end, but it's really cool. It's probably one of my favorite things about learning shapes. So cool parts about textures, shadows. Shadows basically help things like float off the page. So it creates like a depth on something that would be a very flat image. Whereas like textures can like emphasize like line art, and they could just add like a nice personal touch. And this goes into what Shay and Namdi brought in earlier with how I made the business card. So this is actually 2 versions of the same business cards. So the first one I showed you guys was a very symmetrical business card, asymmetrical business card where we had one type of information on one side and the other type. But the one that Shay and Namdi brought up was a very symmetrical one where you had all the graphics at the top and then all the contact information at the bottom. So you just want things to feel pretty balanced, like nothing should overpower the other on one side. This is often seen in web art where we have like maybe an image on one side and then a list of things on the other. Okay, awesome. And we'll finish it off with the branding and identity. Now we'll go more into this next week when we do design systems, but I did want to give a little preview. So let's play a game. Let's guess the brand. Can anyone tell me what brand they think of when they see these colors? MasterCard? Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about MasterCard. But Namdi's right, it is McDonald's. Yeah, so just to reveal it, McDonald's branding uses a lot of the iconic red and golden arches. So that is the first brand. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Can anyone guess it? I want to know. There's like a couple of you still here. So Applebee's, no. Well, it is food related. That's a hint. It's food or drink related. Kit Kat. I did not think of Kit Kat. That's so crazy. That is actually pretty good, but it's not Kit Kat. There's no gold on it, so no. If there was gold instead of the silver, it would have worked. Think about the silver. I think you guys are missing the silver part. Because Kit Kat would have used a cream as well. Kit Kat would not have used silver. It would have used cream. Come on, guys. It's pretty iconic. Although I think Namdi knows its competitors' brand guide much better than the one I'm showing. M&M's, no. That's actually pretty good, though. It's not M&M's. Come on, y'all. Did I stump you guys? Did I get it? Oh my gosh. Is it a candy? No. But I would say, like, if you think about movie theaters, you'll get it. Think about Coke. Yes, it is Coca-Cola. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's also good to know you guys are not cheating. Okay, so it is Coca-Cola. And let me just reveal it now. So the Coke brand is pretty interesting. It's pretty much similar to Disney where it has a lot of properties under it, but they also managed to have like a very Coca-Cola feel. Yes, Namdi, it's Coke. Yeah, but okay. Let's move on. What about this one? I feel like this one's pretty obvious if you drink coffee. Yes, it is Starbucks. I gave that away because I said like coffee, but yeah. Okay, so this is Starbucks branding. Colors are pretty consistent across the board. They do tend to stick to neutrals with a dash of like accent colors that are usually like peaches or creams. I mean, peaches or like sage greens. It's pretty cool. And then the last one, okay, you didn't have to go ahead, Shay. Yeah, but it is Dunkin' Donuts. That's actually one of my favorite rebrands, just in terms of like keeping it more modern and adding like a more like fresher feel without losing the original brightness. Okay, and yes, the last one is Spotify. That was pretty easy though, because like it's 2 colors. But yeah, so These are just how like brands that are impressed can leave an impression when they're consistent. And all the brands I chose are very consistent with the colors they use. Yeah, Dunkin' is definitely the best rebrand out of the recent ones. Okay, it's about 5 p.m. So I know this is where Figma Friday ends. So I know if you guys have to head off, that's pretty cool. I did leave a couple exercises, which is you can turn your own name into a logo, or you can make like a quoted wallpaper brand based on some of the brands I gave you. So like if you want to make a Starbucks wallpaper, you send it to me, I'll share it in the channels that I'm in. But yeah, or I'll put it on the Figma Fridays website. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. To all of you guys who dropped in throughout, I really appreciate it. I will go back and do the last fundamentals exercise. Yes. But I'm gonna end here actually, and I'm just gonna record the exercises for anyone who has to go. Yeah, I see, I don't see why not you can't drop your design work in the design channel. Okay. You guys are still here. That's so heartwarming. We'll do one of the exercises. I can't do all of them just because there's not enough time, really, but we'll do my favorite, which is only using circles. So this is just, I'm gonna have 3 circles. Wait, no, it's 4. I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm gonna have 4 circles ready and I'm gonna show you how to do it. So first one is making the 2 giant circles. And I'm gonna take their colors. I think all I did was change the value of it. Like I just changed the value to like create like a little shadow, to create like a darker one. And then we're going to make the little shadow of the circle. You have to play around with light a bit and like how shadows work. That's pretty okay. And I'm just going to make it about 50%. Oh, I think this is also black. That way it was a little bit more harsh on the page. Okay, so I'm gonna have to make this about 25% now. Okay, this looks pretty good. And now last but not least, adding that little shiner. You're gonna make this white. You're gonna make this 50%. Okay, you're gonna make it 25%. You play around with it, you get used to it. And you're just gonna add it on top and then you're gonna rotate it and boom. You have like a little ball with like a shiner and then like a little one. And that's how you're able to like kind of change a flat circle into like a more dimensional one. I know, and all I used was circles, man. Like I didn't use any other shape, just circles. Yeah, Shay, your face is just really, really golden right now. Yeah, we did a stop sign last time, so I'm just gonna remake the drink. That's what I'll do. I'll remake the drink right now. I feel remaking it's pretty easy. So for remaking the drink, I'm going to keep it more simple. I'm actually just going to do it like a rectangle and then I'll add a curvature by doing an arc actually. So I'm going to do an arc just to add some dimension. So I'm going to add a drop down here and then I'm going to add another rectangle in the back. So I'm going to slightly vary it, but it's fine. This is going to make it white here and then this is going to make it white in the front. I'm going to make this about 50% transparency because I do want it to be a slightly a little transparent for what I'm going to do with this one. We need to add some liquid in there. So I'm going to drop this. I'm going to make another duplicate of the rectangle and I'm going to shrink it just a bit. And I'm going to copy the little drink color. Yeah, this is what a glass looks like. Yeah, it's not all the way filled. So I think this is pretty good. And then we're going to add the ice cubes. So how do you add the ice cubes? One, I'm gonna have to tone this down a bit. It's pretty much making this too glassy. Make it 60. Yeah, I still want it to have like a little bit of a glassy effect. So I just made the glassy effect by changing the octopussy. Then I make this 10. Ooh, this is like white. Okay, this is like too harsh of an ice cube. So maybe I want to make it a little like lighter. So I'll make it 50% opacity. Did I say occupancy? I feel bad for the people watching the recording. Okay, so these are some cute ice cubes. Oh, this works. Oh, you also don't need it. I think you don't really need the frosted glass unless you like it. I'll just play around with both until I figure out which one I prefer. And we'll add the last part, which is adding the little orange, which is hard. This is gonna be slightly easier for the frosted glass one because like all I have to do is add it here, shrink it. This is going to be orange. And wow, so this is like a little orange drink. I actually do like the frosted glass. I think it's just actually the wrong color. So it should have been a white, and I should have just lowered the opacity based on how I wanted that white to be. Yeah, I think this looks great. I think it looks better than the example I gave, TBH. Okay, it is 5:05. I don't see any questions in the chat or like any requests to do any specific from the fundamentals. So I think I can end the recording here, but thank you for everyone who even stayed to the end.